Welcome back to Igua-Zoo, everyone. With the finishing touches on the Giant Anteater habitat, the zoo administration is finally ready to open those doors. As a limited time experience, Igua-Zoo has asked that their junior zookeeper Camilla be prepared for some behind the scenes tours. Camilla is quite excited to show off the many tools used to care for their new giant anteaters. And as a bonus, each guest who has the opportunity to take a behind the scenes tour will also be asked to submit a name for our latest additions to the zoo family, one female and one male giant anteater. Of course, this new habitat could not have been completed without the help of the community and our very own Justin O'Brien, who helped to design this new habitat with an added focus on the various needs of the anteater. Now, as we start our tour of this new state-of-the-art habitat, make sure to pay attention to all the small details that make an amazing enclosure. And while you're here, don't forget to check out the Cortez Animal Education Center. And with that brief intro, it's time for us to start building our new habitat. And we're going to focus on two different sections of our habitat build today, which is going to really be the interior kitchen, which we're building right now. Super proud of what we put together. And then the exterior. Now, speaking of a kitchen and all of these really cool features associated with kind of designing and building a habitat, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Camilla's journey associated with these design features, I felt the kitchen made the most sense. Now, thankfully, we pretty much already have a kitchen, so I already have the inspiration to create this. It just takes some work to get the pieces going. And you can kind of see everything popping together really quickly here. And for something that's going to be so integral to our overall build, surprisingly easy to build. And I'm actually shocked because sometimes these things can feel really daunting when you start. And building a kitchen is something that I never thought I'd ever work with. A lot of back and forth happened here, but there's some pretty basic parts. We're really just talking about a lot of primitive plastic pieces, some wall tiles, and one of the tables that we created in one of our other videos. Now, we could end our build here and it would work, but Planet Zoo is all about pushing yourself to build something bigger and better every time, and what better way than to add maybe a shelf. And our shelf was really easy to create. It took two pieces, the LED brackets and then the aluminum piece from the New World Pack. Now, understandably, that aluminum piece is a little too large, so to hide it, we decided to create a fridge. And again, surprisingly easy to create using some opaque glass pieces and some of these really cool looking plates from the Planet Zoo pack. And just like that, we've created our first fridge in Planet Zoo. Now, is it perfect? By no means, but it's all about challenging yourself to build bigger and better every time. Now, these vents are a perfect way of reminding people that parts can be used in different ways. Who would have thought vents would act as a perfect shelf for your fridge? And finally, these amazing plates, which are so versatile in kind of using for anything. They're actually meant to be used for the base of signs and stuff like that, but I don't think I've ever actually used that piece for that particular purpose. Here's another example of a piece you can use in a different way. The classic flower bed bunch flipped upside down is a perfect way to add some additional texture to some of those sacks. And finally, from a health and safety perspective, everybody needs anti-fatigue mats, so just taking some of the mats, coloring it all black, and we're pretty much complete. Now, I really wanted to show you the den build for our interior building, and I'm really excited about that, and a huge shout out to Sparrow for providing some of these really cool diagrams of what a den would look like in a habitat. Sadly, it's really cramped, and you would see some pretty wonky camera movements just to kind of work within the small space. So I'm kind of giving you a little bit of a teaser, and we're going to do a little bit more of an in-depth look later in the video. Now, that being said, a lot of what we used for the den build was actually used previously in Ottawa Zoo. Now, the benefit of creating a blueprint and something that you're kind of comfortable building yourself is it's really easy for you to go in and modify. So take this as a tip. It's daunting to create some of your builds at first and to blueprint them. But remember, as you get better with Planet Zoo, your builds are going to actually get better as well. So don't be afraid to go back and update some of those builds, much like what you're seeing happening here. Now, of course, like I mentioned, it's a really tight space, but it's super realistic in the sense that we're going to have two entrances to this den, one for our animals and one for our staff. Our staff typically would not go through the run or the chute into the habitat. They would have a separate entrance, and this is what we've actually created. And as an added benefit, it also acts as some hard shelter for our giant anteaters. Now, of course, there's a lot more that goes into an interior of your build, and we're going to do a tour of the interior, more so because I want to show you all the really cool details that maybe we just can't put into a video, otherwise we'd be here for hours. But we've made it to our speed build portion of the video. And why is it a speed build? Really, it's because we're dealing with a lot of foliage and nobody wants to watch a bunch of rocks being placed because we would be here for hours and hours watching this happen. Now, let's connect a little bit more with Camilla's journey. So Camilla's been at Igua-Zoo for a while now, and it's been a whirlwind of a journey for her, to say the least. She's helped to design and build a habitat from the ground up, and has forced herself to learn new details on enclosures and animal husbandry. Things that she needed to keep in mind included not just the needs of the animal, which we're all used to, but the needs of the keeper, the visitor, and sustainability. So to help on this journey, Justin has been sharing some of the older textbooks from his time in school. These textbooks helped Camilla to understand all of these needs and resulted in a truly remarkable habitat. Now, of course, what's next for Igua-Zoo though? Quite a bit. This is not the end of the journey. Far from it, we've just opened the doors to the public. So we have a lot more going on. But again, this is going to be where you guys come in. Let me know what animals you would love to see in the next episode. We have quite a few South American animals that we can work with, and I think we're also going to add in some of these really cool looking houses that are going to go for animals of other continents. Understandably, the climate may not be perfect for some of these animals, so building a house is going to actually help us to create something that's going to be slightly more realistic and fit with the entire idea of creating this really cool looking zoo on a mountaintop. But keep in mind, these animals have to be small, so no lions, please. So with our rocks pretty much completed, and with some trees added in, it was time for us to add in some enrichment. And I'm going backwards on this one. Normally I had enrichment items at the very end, but I kind of learned my lesson. When you build a foliage heavy habitat build, and then you try to add in your enrichment items, everything kind of gets all wonky, especially with the terraforming, so knowing that, kind of went backwards on this one. Now, I am going to share a tip from ZHH Plays. He's an amazing builder, and I love watching his videos, and I learned this from one of his videos, but I'm not a fan of these types of foliage boxes where you can see the wood around it. It really breaks the immersion of the entire build. So knowing that, I turned off collision with scenery items, and I was able to lift up the terrain around it, creating this really cool, more natural looking mud pit where all of our giant anteaters can kind of root around for their food. Now I'm also changing and going a different route for this. I'm not comfortable working with a lot of the palette from the South American continent when it comes to foliage. So to prepare myself, I created my own little palette, and I placed all the plants that I would want to use in a build. And this allowed me to kind of go back and forth a lot easier. And it just meant that I didn't have to look around for particular items. I'm trying to keep each build unique to the biome for that animal. So trying not to add buffalo grass or anything like that. And it's really hard, but this helped a lot in creating some more natural looking foliage. Now, a quick update as well on our capybara habitat. We have picked some names for our capybara pups. We actually have 3 names. And thanks to Pampy89, User Zed, and Slothlin for the additional names Diego, Dawn, and Flower, so they have become immortalized in the story that is Igua-Zoo. Now, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support and all of the help in creating this. Now, we have this amazing Discord that's open to really anybody who wants to come and talk about Planet Zoo, or maybe a few other games as well. I encourage you guys to check it out. Now, to help out, I'm going to leave a link in the pinned comment below. We're just going to leave to a link to our Discord. So if you really want to come and hang out with us, talk more about Planet Zoo, share your builds, you're always more than welcome. And if you want to support the channel further, think about subscribing or leaving a like or a comment. This helps me by letting me know if I'm doing a good job or if I need any feedback on how I can improve my builds as well, because everybody can learn no matter how good they are at a game. Now, of course, I do want you to remember though, there's no pressure to do so. So while we watch all this foliage and terraforming happen, let's talk a little bit about the latest DLC announcement. So right off the bat, number one, this is not the last DLC, and I'm super happy to say that because I'm a believer that Frontier is never going to stop supporting this game. But you know what? If they do, don't forget there's a huge modding community, and we've talked about this a lot in our community, but the modders are just going to go crazy once the support for this game officially ends, because that means that they can go and build these really cool looking things, and they're not going to have to worry about regular updates kind of breaking them. So even if it was the last DLC, I wouldn't worry too much because there's so much more that the community can create down the road. And of course, they announced the next DLC, Barnyard Animal Pack, which is coming out on April 30th. You're definitely going to see a mini zoo here on the channel for this particular new pack. I'm really excited about that, but they have alpacas, and alpacas fit so well with our South American zoo. So for those who were joining the live stream where I was saying I really hope that we get some South American animals, I guess I got what I asked for, and I'm pretty stoked about that. Now, let me know what you think of the DLC pack. I know it's a very contentious subject because it's not necessarily what people wanted, But remember, new animals are new animals, and at the end of the day, we should be happy that we have new animals to play with. Really cool ones, I know they're chickens and Highland cattle and goat and stuff like that, but imagine what you could build with a farmyard pack. And on top of that, all of the additional scenery pieces that you're going to be able to work with. I can't wait to dive in, and stay tuned for maybe some additional episodes outside of a regular upload schedule for Igua-Zoo. Now, of course, that's my belief, and that's what I like about the DLC, but I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this new DLC, so leave it in the comments below. I'm always open to hearing feedback and having a good discussion on what the good and the bad of DLC is. Now, we've pretty much reached the end of the speed build and our video for today, but don't worry, we are going to have a tour of our backstage area because there's a lot of different smaller features that I really kind of want to show off that I really didn't feel comfortable putting into a build because there's so many and I couldn't decide what was the best part to add in. So don't worry, we're going to see some more in-depth views from there. Now, on top of that, I don't want you to forget, even though we're building in Sandbox mode, we are building with a lot of franchise mode settings enabled. And this just means that it's going to be a little bit more realistic, so we may not have to maybe necessarily research items, but we do have to keep guest, staff, and animal needs in mind. And this habitat is a little too small. Maybe we went a little too far on the foliage and whatnot, but the animals are happy in general. And I just want you to keep in mind that everything we're building will actually work in franchise mode. So if you choose to build Sandbox or franchise, some of these tips and tricks and what you're seeing are actually going to work for both. Now, the end of our speed build is going to end off with a bunch of vine work, and what better way to end, because South American zoos and forests and all of this stuff needs vine work to kind of make everything pop, and I'm really excited with how this kind of turned out. So let me know what you thought of this build, and of course, thank you so much for your support, and we'll chat soon. Welcome everybody to the tour of our habitat for our giant anteaters. We are currently in the Cortez Family Education Center. It gives you this amazing view of our anteaters and all of that foliage work. Oh my goodness, look at them just playing around with that enrichment item, the little bark. They're so weird, like such lovable creatures, but they're so weird looking. If you watch them in slow in fast mode sometimes, like if you're watching it in super speed, it kind of looks like they're moonwalking almost. I discovered that while I was putting together the video. But we're not here to look at that. We are here to take a look at the backstage area, and this is one of our entrances. We're just going to crouch down and kind of peek through here because it a little kind of freaks out when we kind of come back here. But this is our backstage area, and I'm not going to take too long. I just want to show you a few really cool details. We have this I like to think a highly detailed backstage area. We have our little storage room, lots of boxes and stuff like that, and then we have our keeper hut, which is a requirement for us to kind of operate and run this habitat. But if you look here, you can see that we've kind of extended the kitchen out into this area. And a few things that I'm kind of like low-key proud of in creating. We have this little chute for garbage, so we can kind of like push things into the garbage there. We have our little sink. we have a little sign saying, reduce your risk, wash your hands before and after touching animals of their environment. And kind of fitting considering where we are. Some fruit and ready to go. We have our fridge that we put together. Love the way this kind of came together. We have some more storage. Look at this. I love these pieces. So the bunched flowers upside down gets you that really cool textured look. Lots of boards, really cool. I love these mats. So they kind of remind me of like anti-fatigue mats. So we kind of put our boots here if it was like rainy outside or something like that. We hang up any coats or rain gear and before we kind of head in. And then we have two entrances. We have our chute entrance, which has kind of like these little switches for the den barrier and the habitat barrier. So if we were to kind of go through, you can see we have two sliding doors that will slide down, preventing our anteaters from kind of leaving. Or if maybe we just want to clean the area, we have this door that'll slide down and prevent them from coming in. I like to think it's kind of realistic. And again, huge shout out to Sparrow for getting me all that stuff. And if you look right here, you can actually see the power cables that run all the way across the roof, going into all of the pieces that we need. And then we kind of come out the other side and we go in here and we can see this is the regular entrance to our habitat build. We have den 2, we have den 1, some little switches to unlock the door so we can kind of slide them open. And I love these side panel pieces for the trim on the walls. They do a really cool way of kind of giving you that idea that it's kind of like a covered mechanical piece. So you can see like maybe there's a bunch of mechanical work up in there. But this is our interior build, and I'm really proud of how this all kind of came together. We have some vents and just about everything we need to run our overall habitat build. But again, I love this. I love this kitchen. I'm super proud. We even have some vents hooked up around the anti-fatigue mat, so like if water got down on it, we could just brush it off from the sink or from cleaning and stuff like that. I love this. This is probably my most in-depth build ever. No. When we do take a look, we will take a quick look in here. You're going to notice a few things. Number one, the wall right here got pushed back. We were having issues with keepers coming in, and they always tend to stand to, if I'm looking at it, they stand to the right a little bit. They were phasing up onto the top of the wall, and they were freaking out, so they would leave, and they would never actually come into the habitat. So fix that. And then we lost a little bit of our riverbed. So we still have a lake, but no river anymore. And part of the reason why is we ran out of space for our giant anteaters. Look at the little, I love that color, just the color and the interactive, like how they kind of climb up on the anthill. It's so amazing. I love anteaters. Their tongues are super sticky, and that's how they kind of get all those bugs and stuff like that. And just it's cool. We do have this. So every habitat, I'm going to try to incorporate some type of South American architecture, like indigenous architecture. This actually came from way over there, which is part of a different build that I didn't stream or anything like that because it's kind of boring, but I was just kind of filling up the space. So I kind of reused it, and there's nothing wrong with reusing a lot of pieces. And if we were to stand all the way over here and climb over our fence, you can see this gorgeous view from here. So this is where I'm hoping the majority of the guests are going to kind of hang out, and you can see I love the vine work. A lot of back and forth on this one. I may have gone a little too heavy on the trees, and if you're in the Discord, you would have seen those photos kind of pop around. A little too heavy on the trees, but I really like how this turned out. Yeah, so thank you so much for your support. As always, I really appreciate it. I just want to say I would not have been able to build this without the help of the community and you guys, and I'm just so thankful for that. Of course, if you want to support the channel, think about subscribing. But again, there's no pressure to do so. Otherwise, again, thank you, and of course, as always, ciao for now, everybody.